Hey there, I'm Scott Whitfield, and welcome to Victorian Opera's web series Artists in Isolation. On this episode, we're delighted to be joined by much-loved soprano, Kathryn Radcliffe.
Katie, thank you so much for joining us.
It's such a pleasure. Good morning.
Good morning to you. Indeed, we are recording this at 9 a.m. Look, you are, of course, a sensational singer and a gifted performer. I want to focus firstly on another talent of yours. Can we please talk about cake?
I'm always happy to talk about cake. You know that.
I thought you might be, and so am I. Who taught you to bake?
First learning in the kitchen with my parents, I think, but I went off and did a couple of little courses here and there. But it all started because my gorgeous grandmother, my dad's mum, she's in a nursing home now, and as she was moving out of her home into her nursing home, she started to give away some things while she could still really remember what they meant to her and what they were. And one of them was her cookbook, which she brought over from the UK in the 60s. It was all handwritten, all these beautiful little pasted in articles back from the days when, a colour magazine was actually quite precious and you didn't get many printed copies of coloured magazines, and all these little pictures and her handwritten notes on things. And there's a gorgeous slices recipe called "This is the one, Mum," and big arrows all over it. She clearly lent the recipe book to her mum at some stage. Stuff like that. And I thought, I'm going to make one of these. So I actually started a recipe book, and I shortly realised that the only recipes I was really interested in were sweet things. Quelle surprise. But so I started.
Nothing wrong with that.
Oh, absolutely. And so I started my own recipe book and consequently started baking all these different sort of cakes to try them out and to see what worked. So we can blame my grandmother, really, I think, for this obsession. But it all sort of spiraled out of control from there, I think.
So what happened from there? Because did it take long for your friends and family to catch on that you were exceptionally talented at at cake making specifically?
Well, I think before long, people started saying, "Oh, you're really good at cakes. Do you reckon you could? I've got my sister's 21st come up. How much would it cost for you to do a cake?" And people wanted to have me do little cakes for this or that. And I would I still don't charge very much, but I sort of charged them the cost of my ingredients basically and had a crack at making this cake or that cake for them. And then when my brother got married, he said, "I really want you to do my wedding cake." And so I made this enormous 3-tiered thing, and it was all sort of covered in little sugar peonies. And I went and had classes so that I could learn how to make the sugar paste flowers and things like that. So I think it was just gradually, and it's still, friends and family just say, "Oh, I've got this wedding, I've got that party, I've got this, special birthday. It's Mum's 60th. Do you reckon you could, she really wants a cake with such and such on it?" I've done things like a Paw Patrol cake. That was heaps of fun.
Oh, very good.
So a few kids' cakes and things. But, and I think for some people, it's a bit more fun than something from the Cheesecake Factory type of thing. But, yeah, I love doing it as well. So it's a labour of love, really. Anything for sugar.
I think it's so lovely when you can have a friend or a family member make something for you specifically, because
for
it's
sure.
just,
For sure.
I don't know, there's just a little bit more love there.
It
feels
tastes better
more
when
special.
there's love in it. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
What's the grandest cake that you've made to date?
Well, there's two that spring to mind. One is that enormous wedding cake, and the other was a cake that I actually did for a show. So sometimes I'll do a cake or something for a show, for an opening night party or something. And sometimes it's a show I'm in and sometimes it's not a show I'm in. But there was a show, it was actually a Vic Opera show last year. It was Salome. And the beautiful
Indeed, I know
Cam
this.
Menzies.
I had a slice of this cake.
And Cam Menzies was directing, and we were having a chat as you do, and he goes, "Oh, do you reckon you could do a severed head cake?" And I'm like, "I don't know, I'll have a crack." It's not the sort of thing that I would normally do. But I did. I made a severed head cake.
I've never been asked before.
No, exactly. It's not the sort of thing. But it was this cake. It looked like a severed head lying on a silver platter, basically, because it was John the Baptist, of course, for Salome. And it was really funny because after I made this thing for, just for the evening before I took it to the theatre, at the time I had a 1.5-year-old. She's now 2.5, but she was just old enough to start being able to open the fridge door by herself. And I said to my husband,
Oh
we're going to
no,
have to take
I
that thing
already see
closed.
problems.
Yeah, because I shouldn't blow my own trumpet. It wasn't like super realistic, but it was good enough. I thought it was good enough, and I thought I'm going to have to take the fridge door closed. And I just sort of fed her sultanas and cheese sticks whenever she wanted it, so she wasn't too keen on opening that fridge door. But yeah, no, she survived. She didn't see the cake, and I took her to the theatre. Mom, what's in the fridge? It's okay, darling. It's a chocolate mud cake.
I would love to shift gears and to talk about singing. Do you remember when you started singing?
I don't. My mum does. I was very, very little when I started singing. She walked past my nursery door, and I think I was about 6 months
Oh
old, and I was
wow.
singing not words yet, but I was singing "Bar Bar Black Sheep" because it's something she used to sing to me, and I'd obviously just picked it up. And so I was singing, and she goes, "That's surprisingly tuneful from a 6-month-old baby." But yeah, so people still say that. That's surprisingly tuneful. I'll put it on my tombstone. It'll be great. Um, but yeah, so very, very young, and I was singing, but I was actually initially not a singer. I was a flautist. So I learnt flute from a very, very young age. I would have been I was not in primary school yet. I'm guessing about 4-ish, maybe 3.5. And I was so little
Oh
that I
wow,
had
that's
to have,
very young.
yeah, it was very young because I wanted to. I was like, I want to learn an instrument. I want to do it because I gave up ballet because I was really tall and they made me be a boy. And that was the final straw. And I couldn't do ballet anymore. They made me
Oh,
be,
I see.
yeah, all the other girls got to be fairy princesses, which is all I ever wanted, right? As you do. There were
I
3
think that's
concerts.
probably still the case for you.
Um, Adjective achieved. Tick. No. I don't know. I tend to play a lot of evil stepmothers and things like that. So the occasional princess, but I have to say, yeah, I play many characters nowadays. But yeah, they made me be a mushroom, a rubber ducky, and then the handsome prince. And I said to the ballet teacher, why do I have to be the prince? All of the others are the princesses. And she said, well, you're the tallest, so you have to be the boy. And I'm like, I quit. I'm going to learn an instrument. And so mum and dad gave me a flute and sent me off for lessons. And so I was so little, I had to have the flute with the curved headpiece. I don't know if you've ever seen, it's like a little U-shaped headpiece so
I've
that my
never seen a
arms
flute like that,
could
no.
reach all the way down to the bottom of the flute. I've still got it. It's a bit rusty now, but it's gorgeous. And I learnt flute right up to A Marseille level. I would have been about, in fact, it was my 15th birthday. I did my A Marseille exam and loved it to bits. So I was always singing the things that I was hearing on flute recordings, always trying to sing like Mozart cadenzas and stuff from my flute. And I'd be, walking around the house or whatever, I'm just singing them through because I'd been playing them through in my practice for half an hour. And I think that's probably where all of that coloratura started. In fact, up until uni,
Of
whenever I
course.
did coloratura, mum would say to me, I can see your fingers wiggling. Because I would be playing the flute and in my head I would have my
Yeah,
fingers going.
absolutely. Yeah, totally.
Yeah, which is really, really funny. But yeah, so I think that's where it all started with the flute as well, which is a lovely instrument for a singer, I think, because I'm not afraid of runs. I'm not
Completely.
afraid of coloratura. I just do it because it's there. It's on the page, and I've never had that experience of, oh, that's a lot of black notes in a small space, because it feels natural. So yeah, it's really nice. It's a nice background to have, I think.
You mentioned a little earlier you have a 2.5-year-old daughter. How musical is your household?
I think she's grown up in a world where there's lots of sound and there's lots of life and there's lots of music. I'm always playing little recordings of classical things, but her favourite song is Taking Care of Business. I don't know if you remember, it was in an Officeworks ad for a little while. Bachman Turner Overdrive.
Fantastic song.
Yeah. Oh, she's a little baby rocker. It's just
Very
hilarious.
fun.
And she loves the Beatles and she's obsessed with ABBA. So there's music all around her, and she's it's not only the musicality but the enthusiasm, I think, which if you can't be enthusiastic at that age, when can you? I mean, get your confidence on, particularly in lockdown. You know, it's what she knows.
What do you like to sing to her?
There are a few things, I think, but it sort of depends on how she goes. When You Wish Upon a Star is very popular, particularly effective for a scraped knee, I find, or if she's tripped over something. And Baby of Mine, which is another ex-Disney one. Yeah, I think those two, and that particularly in moments of drama, you know, when something bad has happened, or I've told her for the third time not to lick the dog, or, you know, similar disasters in life that you experience when you're 2.5. The dog doesn't care, but I do. So yeah, little songs like that are just very comforting, I think.
I was wondering, with opera specifically, when did that become a clear direction for you?
That's a really good question, because I'm actually still not sure. I sort of tripped over it and it stuck. I went into university to a music degree, so I actually put in two preferences. One was for vet science, and one was very last minute preference change to go to the VCA. And I thought, oh, well, I won't get in, so I'll go do vet science, but I'd like to do it, so I'll put it on my form. And in the end, bizarrely, I ended up at the VCA. But I sort of, because it was sort of a last minute change, it was a teacher who'd said to me in year 12, I was having a singing lesson, and he goes, you could actually do this. You could actually sing like properly for a living. And I went, huh? It was that kind of, it was like I was, you know, horses wear those blinkers. It was like somebody had removed them, and suddenly I could see a lot more options than I thought were there before. But it was a strange thing where I went into the course not really having planned to go into the course or visualized myself going into the course, but I knew it was where I wanted to be. And I thought, well, maybe I'll become a speech pathologist with a musical background, or maybe I'll go into, you know, psychology, or maybe I'll do this or that or the other, but I want to have a music degree and I want to have gone through this first. And I didn't end up doing that. I ended up just keeping singing and keeping singing and keeping singing, and here I am. I'm keeping singing. So I had always loved opera since I was little, since the Magic Flute. For the first time, I heard the Magic Flute and Papageno and Papagena, because that's the cutest thing on earth when you're, you know, 5 or 6. But it wasn't planned. I still don't think it's planned. You know, it's strange. I just keep doing it, and it keeps going, and it keeps happening to me, which is great. But there was never a sense of, oh yes, I want to be here in 5 years, and I want to be here in 5 years. I have to be a bit more systematic about it nowadays because I'm committed to it. But yeah, it was unplanned. It was a little exciting thing that just happened.
What do you love about it?
I love sharing. I love sharing it. I think that for me is the big thing. You know, I was actually chatting to a colleague the other day about what we missed when we were in lockdown about performing. And I said, look, applause is nice. It's nice. It's nice to be acknowledged. It's nice to say to an audience, yes, I know you're there and I shared this with you and that's wonderful. But I'm one of those people who wouldn't really mind if the applause never came at the end of a product. I don't really need it, but I need somebody there to share with. And for
That exchange.
me, yeah, that exchange, yeah, and
Which
that
happens so much in silence.
Oh, I know. Yes, absolutely. And the sense that this music is more than just something nice for your ears. It's something that changes you on the inside. It's something that helps you to deal with emotions of your own and emotions that you share with everybody else. And having that shared experience with a big group of people can only happen in live performance. And the artistry of it as well. I love the detail. I love nutting out, is that a trill, or should I do a little gliss here, or is that a slur, or should that be piano or pianissimo? I love that stuff. I love it. But also I think that sharing that with other people is really, it's the crux of it for me. Oh, and I've got a little bonus assistant here who's just helping me out, woofing. But yeah, no, she's my little assistant, my glamorous assistant. If the toddler's not distracting me, she is.
Well, I wanted to talk about Victorian Opera. You've, of course, worked for Victorian Opera in many productions over the last few years. I was wondering, is there anything that stood out to you or comes to mind as a particularly special memory?
There's not really specifically one thing, but I think in general, working at Vic Opera is not like working anywhere else. There is a sense of community and a sense of family and a sense of belonging, which is very unusual and extremely precious. There's also, I think, sometimes when you're working in a big company, you can lose sight of the individual artists and their journeys and their development. And Vic Opera has managed to not do that. They've managed to actually hold on to a sense of the fact that artists are real life people with real life problems. When I announced my second pregnancy to Vic Opera, I wasn't nervous about it. And I know so many young women who have announced a pregnancy and, lost heaps of work, and people have judged them and gone, oh, well, you're not serious about your career because you're having a baby. When I announced my pregnancy, my current one, to Vic Opera, they were delighted and happy and everything was fine. And it wasn't a problem. They weren't concerned about the shows that I had coming up. They were just happy that I'd fallen pregnant and delighted for me. And that's so unusual. I mean, sadly, it's so unusual not to have that sense of fear and trepidation about just living your normal life. Having babies is just a part of our existence. It's a part of living your life for men and for women. And the fact that that's just taken in their stride actually really does say something about the company, I think. And more broadly about looking after their artists through lockdown. They did a wonderful job of that. They really didn't lose sight of the fact that it's not just stopping performing, but it's stopping being part of an artistic community that you lose when you're in isolation, when you're cut off from other people and not able to make music anymore. We're all live performers. We need an audience, we need colleagues, we need an orchestra. And when you're cut off from those things, how do you keep people sane? How do you keep people connected? And as a consequence of that, more ready to come back to work when finally lockdowns get lifted and we're able to start up again. So, that's a bit of a nebulous answer, but it's no one experience. I think it's a broader sense that makes it special.
2021 is a very big year for you, of course. You're currently pregnant, and big congratulations. You're also performing a number of sort of principal roles with the company. Tell us about what's ahead for you.
Well, very excitingly, we will open Sleeping Beauty soon. I think it's going to be a little delayed, but I'm feeling confident. Sleeping Beauty starts up soon, and then we've got Echo and Narcissus, in which I'm playing Echo and Narcissus and Cassandra, I should say. It's a double bill of two brand new works. And they are so pretty and so exciting. And I actually, I'm one of those people who goes, I like modern, like contemporary opera in an intellectual sense, but not always in an emotional connection type of a sense. But I do actually really genuinely like these works, and I think that they're going to be a lot of fun. And then after that, in April, we have the Pearlfishers, which is so exciting. And I'm Layla in the Pearlfishers. And the cast is gorgeous. And it's going to be, the venue is dreamy, and it's the music is just to die for. I mean, this is one of the most popular operas globally, but also in Australia. I think, was it a couple of years ago or last year? It was the most popular opera, according to Classic FM. I can't quite remember. But it deserves that title. It's just bliss. This music is just so gorgeous. And it's a real privilege to sing it, and I'm super excited about it. But I'll be out to here. I'll be about 6 months pregnant, so they'll put me in a big dress. It'll be fine. It'll be fine.
Indeed, you'll be singing at the Sydney Mine Music Bowl as well, so I think that'll be a spectacular venue to share music so glorious.
It's such a beautiful venue, that venue.
Well, Katie, it has been such a joy to chat. Best of luck for the year ahead, and we can't wait to see you on stage.
Thank you. Can't wait to do it. See you there.
For more chats with artists in isolation, you can follow Victorian Opera across social media or visit victorianopera.com.au. I'm Scott Winfield. Thanks for watching.
What do you want?
More.
You want to do it again?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll do it again. Say bye.